Welcome to Talk Music with Will Dorsey Jr. Every week, our host Will is going to interview musicians from around the world and talk everything music. Our listeners range from professionals to recreational musicians who want to learn more about the industry, their instruments, and the community of top musicians. So join us, subscribe, and keep up with Talk Music. And now, live from his studio upon the mountaintops of Southern California, here's Ill Will himself, Will Dorsey Jr.
Today's episode is brought to you by our sponsor, eRecord Studio, the new way musicians rehearse, record, and share their eRecord sessions on social media. Visit ERS on eRecordstudio.com. Download this amazing app on Google and Apple Apps stores. Well, folks, I got the legendary Dave Tieff with us. So he was the singer of my band, Laughing Colors, and we just need to have more shows with my dude. But I want to introduce to you Dave Tieff, everybody. All right, man. Mr. Dave Tieff. How you doing, man?
What's up, Big Daddy? I'm doing good, man.
Not too much, man. I'm trying to figure all this out, and try to get this interview started,
Yeah.
But thank you so much for even taking the time to do this for me, man. I really appreciate this.
It's the least I could do. I'm honored that you do it, and yeah, man, it's great. It's always good to catch up with you anyway. But now, if you do it via Zoom and knock a couple birds out with one stone, that's awesome.
Yeah, no, this is great. Well, I mean, what have you been up to, man?
So, when's the last time I saw you at the Wrecker? Was that Okay,
yeah.
So for your listeners, so Will flew back to his home state of Maryland in April. It was, yeah. So we Laughing Colors did one of our annual shows. It was an awesome show.
Yeah, it was.
Huge crowd and huge, very enthusiastic crowd. Oh, and just to add on to that, so we got a soundboard tape and a video, and that's being mixed down right now by Keith, the house. Man. So I'll make sure that you get the full listen to that, and then we're gonna obviously offer that on the Laughing Colors website when it's done. So that's pretty exciting.
Dude, that's awesome, man. And that's what I was going to ask you, man. It's like, did you want to promote something? Did you want to, but that sounds like you're plugging it, man,
That's it, man. laughingcolors.com. It's like, we don't play that often anymore, but we're still doing stuff, and we can still write songs. And, there's the new original Antisocial on there that we worked on and that you just destroyed and after hearing it twice. So people are talking about that song, so we need to get a studio version of that song.
I cannot wait to go in the studio and go do that. And it's just been a long time coming that that's something that we need to do, and people need to get their hands on that song,
Yeah. So. Yeah, it's solid, man. It was fun to blow off the cobwebs and write some new music for once. I mean, I love playing all the old favorites, but it's nice to write some new stuff that still sounds like Laughing Colors,
Yeah, definitely, man. I just wanted to get people to know you more. And especially our fans, the Laughing Color fans, if they, there's been questions for years I've been wanted to ask, what your lyrics mean in D songs. So I'm just gonna pick your brain.
Lay it on.
So let's start with this. What keeps you up at night? Just to start it off.
Yeah, I mean, that's a good question. Man, I think that anybody who has like that artist soul, you realize that you always want to create something.
Mm-hmm.
And I always thought when I was younger, yeah, I'll reach a certain age and then I'll just be good. You know what I mean?
Right.
Like it'll just be what, and it doesn't work that way. Like
Mm-hmm.
I'm never satisfied. So I don't know if I toss and turn at night, but the drive is still always there to create
Yeah.
something. And like this past summer, I went and saw Paul McCartney, and I went and
Oh,
saw Roger Waters, and guys are all like, right. Paul McCartney's 80 years old. He doesn't need the money. He
right.
doesn't. You know what I mean? Like, what is? It's not like he's got to promote himself. Everybody knows who he is. But he's 80 years old and he's still doing it. And it reminds me, I'm 30 years younger than him.
Yeah.
And I want to do it. So why would I think that I'm beyond wanting to create when I watch these guys who
Mm-hmm.
have done everything they could possibly do and still want to be it? Because it's like, man, fish gotta swim and birds gotta fly. You know what I mean? That's just how it is, So I think all musicians are like that at their core. We're not totally comfortable unless we're creating something,
Man, don't you know it, man? That's
Yeah.
You have to have that, keep on with that drive, especially being a musician anyway. I do the same thing, but yeah, man. Yeah, I totally agree with you on that. Totally agree
Yeah.
with you on that.
Yeah.
Um,
Yeah. Well,
what was
you're a shining example of that because when when Laughing Colors stopped doing what we were doing,
mm-hmm.
I'll be honest, I was burned out, and I was honest with you guys about that. I was just burned out of the tour and wanted to settle down, and you were just like, I just got to keep going and look at
Yeah.
all the good things that have happened to you since you kept going.
It's
So
it's weird. We'll get into that. I want to dive into that more
okay,
in a little bit, but I want to go back in your history
okay.
about like your musical influences. What made you want to do this in the first place? To even like just be the front man of a band. You know what I mean?
Yeah. So, I feel like I grew up and we grew up in the golden age of the rock star. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like coming up in the 70s where it was like Zeppelin and Van Halen and just like the four Kiss. You know what I
Yeah.
mean?
Yeah.
The four-piece rock band with the guitar and the singer. And growing up, it's just like that's what I saw. And I might have wanted to be center field for the Orioles, but that wasn't going to work out.
Hmm.
So it was like when I saw that in the 70s, Black Sabbath. I mean, the list goes on and on. So, but specifically, I was 9 years old and I
Mm-hmm.
heard AC.
Hmm.
And I know like Brian Johnson was the Back in Black, Hell's Bells guy back then, but I started listening to Bon Scott, the original singer, who did like Highway to Hell and Dirty Deeds Done Dirt Cheap and stuff like that.
Yeah.
And what I didn't realize is he had just recently died. He did the rock star thing. He drank too much and asphyxiated in the back of a car.
Mm-hmm.
But I saw him. He had like no shirt, tattoos, jeans, wanted to party, wanted the women, wanted the drugs, wanted this. And I was just like, that is now that might be a little warped for a 9-year-old to want all that kind of stuff.
But still,
it just planted the seed, man. And then again, just like you said, there's Kiss, Van Halen, Aerosmith, Led
mm-hmm.
Zeppelin, Black Sabbath, and just this is the golden age of the rock band and the rock star. And that's all I ever wanted to be. So I was just, I gotta figure out how to do this somehow because I don't really have a whole lot of other skills.
Oh man. So did you have to go through like voice training or anything? Like, I mean, did you do any of that or?
Man, not at all. And like I was not like some kind of like child prodigy, and to this day it's not like I have like I can't sing like Freddie Mercury or Robert Plant or Steven Tyler or anything like that. But I wanted to do it so bad. I just wanted, and wasn't born with a lot of natural ability, but I wanted to do it so bad that I just started singing. And if I had any talent at all, is that I could remember words and lyrics really well as a kid and repeat them and sing along with them. I think some of my relatives noticed that from a fairly early age, but not like, wow, that kid can really belt. And in fact, like even when I first got together with Dan and Corey from Laughing Colors in high school, it wasn't like I had this amazing singing voice or anything like that. I was probably just like the best option locally.
Oh man, come on.
To not suck or whatever. And I was just thrilled that those guys would even let me be in the same band with them. When they were accomplished musicians in high school. So and you in your own right, having studied and done it the right way. And I just wanted to be the lead singer of a rock band.
Man, let me ask you this, like for me, was there what was your first show? Was it Laughing Colors first?
No. Okay, so I played in like a garage band in high school called The Other Side. Doug Segree was in the band.
Oh, wow.
Doug, yeah. So Doug was a guitar player, and Brian Toronto on drums and Mike Caterino on bass. And we just, we did like some Crack the Sky songs and some I'm trying to think what else we played. We did some David Bowie and some other stuff like that. Not too heavy, which was my bag. I liked I was into my and Slayer and all this stuff. But we did it more like a party band kind of thing. But then, that was when I was 18 or 19, and then 2021 was Laughing Colors, who was first called No Such Thing,
right?
As you remember. But this before you joined the band, but that was brief. That was like 6 months, and we just became Laughing Colors.
Wow, man. So during that, when you were singing with that other band, what made you pick up guitar?
Interestingly enough, so my summer between my junior year and my senior year in high school, I used to be really overweight. And when I tell people that, they're like, what? And I'm like, yeah, well, I lost weight, but I used to be really overweight. I went to live with my uncle in Hawaii for the summer between my junior year and senior year. And he had a little Ovation acoustic guitar. And during that summer, I lost 50 pounds, like working for him and being out in the Hawaiian sun and eating fresh fruits and vegetables. And at the same, my hair started growing out when I had hair. And so I started to pick up the guitar and just mess around with it. And I had a few ideas for songs and stuff like that, learning some chords and whatever. And that's when I picked up the guitar, because I knew that if I wanted to write songs, I needed to learn an instrument somehow to go along with it. You know what I mean? Just to tell other people what the chords were and have the melody structure and things like that. So even at that age, when I didn't really know much musically, I knew I needed to add some kind of music to it,
Wow, man, that's awesome. Like you how you started out like with guitar like that. But even getting with Corey and Dan, was that intimidating a little bit, or how was it? And Joe, Joe,
yes.
How was that?
So it was intimidating to an extent, but I've had a lifelong philosophy that if you surround yourself with people who are better than you, you will become better. And I know that playing with you and Dan and Corey, who are all extremely brilliant and proficient at their instruments, I knew that just being in the same band with you, I would become better. And so I would much rather play with people who are up here and try to rise to their occasion than be the most talented musical person in the band. Because I knew I could grow, I could learn, and 95% of what I've learned about playing music, I learned from you guys just doing it.
Oh,
I
wow.
mean, just we flung ourselves in at an early age, in our early 20s,
Yeah.
and everything I've learned, has come from you guys in one way, shape, or form, or just getting out there on stage and doing it.
Wow, man, that's awesome, man. That's crazy that you were learning from us, and I was what, the youngest kid in the band.
Yeah.
I didn't know, but um, was it? I mean, I should ask, like what was your like influence then, like during that time, even with Joe,
Yeah.
being in the band, where do you want to go?
You know, just at that age, it was like a cross between something was just happy to be playing at a party, at a keg party, just
Hmm.
playing music. So I was happy with this, and also at the same time, I'm like, I want to be the next Led Zeppelin. You know what I mean?
Mm,
Like I want to fill stadiums. You know what I
yeah,
mean?
yeah.
So it was like, I'm cool with this, and this is fun, but I want to be a rock star. But we didn't have really an identity at that time. We just didn't. We were just kind of winging it, and we just didn't know. And I'm not pandering or blowing smoke, but the bottom line is that Laughing Colors did not become Laughing Colors until you joined the band, and
Mm,
that gave us our sound. It completed. It was like, this is what we're supposed to sound like, man. It's supposed to have that kick and beat, and that bass, and that funk, and that groove, but also be hard rock, high energy music. Is It's like, that's what I love. You know what I mean?
mm,
That's what
man,
gets you know. So
feelings mutual, man.
yeah,
You
yeah,
know,
right.
especially and one of my friends, when you guys were coming up, especially at LA Gators, had me come check you guys out, and this is even before I even decided even joining the band. We'll talk about that too in a minute. Whoop. Um, and it was inspiring, like how you were as a front person, how you kept the people going and the party checks. And there was, I mean, like people were, I mean, even when I was in the band and still doing party check, people were still digging it. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
So uh, it was very inspiring. Like I was like, man, I wish I could get into a band like this, but um, it wasn't my time yet.
right.
Um,
I remember seeing you at that show. I
are you
remember seeing
serious?
Yeah, you had pretty long braids back then, and I remember seeing you. Now, let's just be honest. AL Gators, there wasn't a ton of African American people hanging out, so you did kind of stick out a little bit.
Yeah, yeah,
But you know what I truly noticed was you you were watching us.
yeah,
You were checking us out. Like, you could tell you're into it, but I was like, that dude's like checking us out. And then I can't remember how we first connected, but somebody told me, like, dude, you should see that guy play drums. And I was like, oh, really? And I was like, cool, because at the time we weren't super happy with our current drummer,
right.
and very kind of Neil Peart, kind of want to be rip off. I don't want to be mean, but that's kind of how it was.
Yeah,
You know, I
yeah,
wanted a little more groove, a little more funk, a little more ass to it.
right.
And I was like, okay, well, I want to. And then, I had a couple of people at that point tell me what a great drummer you are.
Oh
Um,
man.
and then, of course, we can get into the fact where I virtually annoyed the shit out of you until you had no other choice but to join.
You know what? I remember we're at Gingerbread Man. That there was a spot that I could join, and you kept on asking. So, what do you think? Like to see even like even the jam. Do you remember the first like kind of rehearsal that we did as the four of us? Do you
Oh
remember
yeah.
that? You
Oh
do?
yeah.
Can you
Yeah.
can you tell the people what was going on?
Yeah. Because when you left, I looked at Dan and Courtney. I was like, "That's our drummer," and they're like, "All right, well, he's got other stuff going on. You might not want to buy." I was like, "Nah, fuck that. That's our drummer." I was like they're like, "Don't annoy him, man," and I'm like, I'm gonna annoy him
Right.
because he's gonna have to be like, no, dude, get the hell out of here. I'm not joining your band. And I was
Right.
you just a little bit of daylight so that my annoyingly persistent personality could be like, come on, bro, let's do
Right.
this. Let's do
Right.
this. So
No, I'm
I'm
glad you did that.
yeah, me too. Me
You
too.
know?
Like, so my annoyingly persistent personality does pay off every once in a while.
Dude, that's still great, man. Do you remember any of the songs that we're doing? Was in Corey's mom's house, right?
Absolutely the basement. Yep.
Right.
Absolutely.
Um,
I absolutely remember with your white kit and
yeah.
yeah, absolutely, man. I
Wow.
mean, I can remember, I'm facing you. I can remember, you know what I mean? Corey's to my left, Dan's to
Yeah.
my right, and right
Yeah.
at you. It's absolute. That's 20. Oh my God, dude, 28 years ago or something like that.
Yeah. Can you believe that?
It's nuts. It, I remember it like yesterday because I was like, that's the drum. Because we had tried out a couple good drummers,
Oh
and
wow.
we're like kind of like, no, there are maybe. And then I was like, dude, that's the dude. Done. Like,
Mm,
if you guys don't want to annoy him, that's cool. I'll annoy
right. But like I said, I'm glad that you did. Um, do you remember us even messing around with what our famous radio song, Solution?
him. Did we do that the first rehearsal?
No, no, we
Okay.
didn't. No, that was much later. That was a little
Yeah.
bit later.
Yeah.
I remember messing around. Uh, I think we were going through your guys' first album. So what's so funny?
Yeah. Like
Um,
Child and I and stuff like
yeah,
that. Yeah.
I remember going through that stuff. But how'd you feel when I was playing that stuff with you guys on that stuff, and there's a different drummer being on those songs?
I'm gonna be honest. I was like, now it sounds like it's supposed to sound. I'm just saying, man. Like that's the whole. I like things with it. Something's it's got to have a bit of a groove. It's got to have the pocket. Like my favorite drummer outside of Will Dorsey is John Bonham, and
Mm,
and it's just because he's just so in the pocket and so powerful and just like I mean like again we could argue for days who the best drummer of all time is,
yeah.
but the best drummer to my ears as a fan is John Bonham, and I'm like this is our John Bonham, man. This is like what we would and of course Laughing Color is very different from Led Zeppelin, so
Yeah.
we don't compare those two, but it was like this is the drummer that sounds the way I want it to sound. And I didn't even know I wanted it to sound like that because I'd never heard you play. And then when I heard you play, I'm like, that's it. And I think
Mm,
it wasn't just me. The rest of the band was like that too. They were like, yeah, you know what I mean? Like Corey and Dan were just like, that's the kind of guy that's just going to hold it down,
mm.
and some, you know what I mean?
Wow. That's
Yeah.
that's awesome that you're saying that and that you're comparing me to John Bonham.
Yeah. You're my
Thank you.
John Bonham.
um, can I tell you really, really quick how I felt? Like when I started coming first to those shows, um, and it was me and my brother, and of course a bunch of our friends or whatever. But that's the one thing I said. I say this band needs a pick me up.
Yeah.
Um, and I was all about like it has to be exciting and it has to be let's push and I was like, man, this is what this band needs. It's like great band. I was like, but they need this. And I think, the other reason why I was involved with this because you guys had another drummer that was my teacher, Mr. Greg Phillips.
Right.
So and I was subbing for him and coming into the band. I just want people to notice. Oh, go ahead.
I was just, and not to interrupt you, that's right, because Greg was subbing while we were trying to find a drummer. He knew it wasn't permanent. We knew he wasn't permanent. He brought you up.
Yes.
So he was the person that was in our ear, like, you got to check this dude out. And yeah, and God bless him.
Right.
You know, he made the right call. He taught you well. And not only that, like, but you guys have very different playing styles.
Oh yeah.
But the fact that he taught you, and yet you took whatever you learned from him. I mean, the dude is a human metronome.
No
you know what
doubt.
I mean? Yeah,
Oh man. If people don't know, he was the drummer for Starpoint, Annapolis band. Like one of our heroes, that was in, from Maryland. It's a whole bunch of heroes in Maryland. But we'll talk about that another time. But yeah, I learned from him, and then I eventually started being with you guys. So
I forgot. I gotta give credit where credit is due, because definitely, I had honestly forgot about that. That Greg was the loudest voice, talking about having you. He's like, he would be perfect for you guys. And so, like, yeah, I took that bone and kept chewing on it.
Man, that's awesome.
Yeah.
That's wow. I can't believe that.
Yeah, man.
So outside of me, and I already know, what was the inspiration for everybody, that if you can speak for the band, what was the inspiration for Laughing Colors?
Now, are you talking about the name Laughing Colors,
Not
or
yet.
okay, gotcha. So you're
Not
talking
yet.
about just the vision of Laughing Colors, kind of?
Yes. Yeah.
You know what, man? I think that for most of those years, for all of us, it was like the sky's the limit,
Hmm.
and I think I feel pretty safe in saying that. You know, and for a while we just kept moving up and moving up and moving up and getting more known and more, radio play and more, bigger shows and stuff like that. Um, and I, yeah, wanted to be Led Zeppelin, Pearl Jam, whatever, you know what I mean, as big as those bands. Um, as I look back, I realize how fortunate we were, even if we didn't make it to mega stardom or whatever, but to play for that many years
Hmm.
consistently in front of people who still come out.
Yeah.
Um, and that's pretty cool. And I got to be honest with you, so many of my heroes from that time, Will, are dead. Chris Cornell, Lane
Yeah.
Staley, Scott Weiland. And I, having my own, alcohol and drug issues at the time, I sometimes look back and I'm like, if we'd have made it huge, would I still even be here? Like, I don't know.
Yeah.
I legit don't know that. You know what I mean? And I think, because for me, just having that be part of my persona, the partying rock star who takes things to the extreme,
Yeah.
it was pretty obvious that I was going to have to sober up and straighten up, or wind up just like them, only not having done what they've done. But it's sad to me that we can't go see Chris Cornell
It
or
is.
Tom Petty or Prince or all these just guys that are gone because of drugs and
Yeah.
alcohol, and so sometimes, there are times when I'm like, I wish we would have made it to here, but
Yeah.
if we here, we would have wanted to made it to here. If we made it here,
Exactly.
the fact that I'm still alive and sober and doing well and healthy and raising my sons, I can't. Again, like Taylor Hawkins, you know what
Yeah.
I mean?
Oh my gosh, man.
I mean, the list is just endless, and I
Yeah.
can't honestly say if we would have hit superstardom that I would have made it. You know what I mean? I don't know what I don't have any special powers that those guys didn't have, and they just had a lot more talent than I did. So I probably would have self-destructed. I'm just being, you know,
right.
you know.
But man, I think about that, some of that stuff too. It's just crazy to me, you know, like how, you know, the band got slowly started getting bigger, and we were with Chris Keith, you know, trying to you know, get to a larger platform and going that way.
Yep.
I mean, for you, um, and I wasn't even thinking about, you know, like like being, you know, like you were going through,
Mm.
if the band made it like that,
Yeah.
self-destructing and going that way. But for you, how did it feel, you know, like when you first started hearing our song on the radio?
It's amazing. It's a dream come true. I mean, and I remember like pinching myself at the time. I remember, you know what I remember, man, that really sticks out to me is, and I think this was 11/15, when we
Mm,
recorded the live album at Hammerjacks.
yeah.
And you know, Hammerjacks, of course, for anybody who doesn't know that might be listening, is a legendary concert hall in Baltimore that's no longer there.
Hmm.
But I remember being in the green room, which, if you remember, was like up a bunch of stairs and it kind of like in the catacombs of Hammerjacks.
Yeah.
Huge crowd outside, and Sarah Fleischer was bringing us on. You
Oh
know,
man.
the legendary DJ from '98
Yes.
Rock,
Yes.
and she was bringing us on, and we're back in, you know, way back in the green room, and our song had just been on the radio, and people were out there going nuts and going LC LC, and I was like, I remember being in the green room and hearing the crowd chanting our name, and I
Hmm.
was like, dude, I mean, you know, how does it get any better than this? I mean, it'd be great if it's 10,000, 50,000 people, but even if it was whatever that was, 1,500, 2,000, however many people it was,
Yeah.
it was amazing. It was like, that's all I ever wanted to do. And then
Yeah.
to walk down those, one of my favorite things to this day is just to walk from the green room on to stage. I love that, man. It still gets me. It's like coming out of the tunnel on
Yeah.
Sunday of a football game. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I
Yeah.
love that feeling. And
Man.
so, like, I just remember walking down the steps with the four of us, like, here we
Yeah.
go. You
Yeah.
got your sticks in your hand, and
You're right.
you know what I mean? And we all hop on stage together, and then the crowd sees us and goes nuts and stuff like that. That shit never gets old, man.
No.
And just thinking about it gives me goosebumps now.
Oh,
You
I have
know?
goosebumps now, man. You know, and I was
Yeah.
just about to say that, but yeah, that was a exciting, you know, like even back then. I don't know, for you, I was nervous as hell. I don't know if you were nervous that on that doing that 11/15. I don't know if you were nervous, but I don't remember ever playing for that size of crowd before.
Yeah, that was probably like our biggest kind of concert style crowd up until that point that we had played for. You know, everybody's there to see us.
Yeah,
You know, people, and then, of course, they had the upper deck there and stuff where, you know, there's people in the upper deck, and it was amazing.
it
And
was.
I'm so glad we recorded that for posterity. Not to mention the fact that Hammerjacks is no longer there. But
Yeah,
man, that's the kind of stuff that, like, I will tell my grandkids about. You know what I mean?
that's
And I've told my sons about and stuff like that. That it's just like, you can't you can't listen. You can pay to go skydiving. You can pay to go parasailing or skiing or have any kind of rush that you want. You can't buy that. You know what I mean?
yeah,
It's a rush. It's a human experience that you can't pay for. You know what I mean? And so to be able to experience that even once in your life, to
hmm,
walk onto a stage with a screaming people who are singing the words to songs that four of you wrote in a basement somewhere.
mm,
You know
mm,
what I mean? Like
yeah,
that's just the duality of that, and the just like, wow, man, I thought this lyric up, you know, when I was driving down the road by myself, and here are thousands of people singing along to it. You know what I mean? It's powerful.
How's that feel to you, man? I mean, like that people are singing your lyrics that you came up with. Like how's that feel more for you?
It's awesome. I'll never forget. Now that wasn't the first time. I'll never forget the first time. I think it was at AL Gators, and we put out a CD.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't. It might have even been Depth, because then people all had CD players back then and bought the CD.
Right.
So we had a CD release party, right?
Yep.
And like
I remember that.
a month or two after that, I noticed everybody was singing the words to the song from the CD we just released, and I could hear it after each song, and I was like, "Oh my God, they know the words!" And just when you're in 23, 24, and you're just getting your feet wet and stuff like that. That's an amazing experience. The whole thing is just amazing.
I'll never take that for granted.
No.
Today's episode is brought to you by our sponsor, eRecord Studio, the new way musicians rehearse, record, and share their eRecord sessions on social media. Visit ERS on eRecordStudio.com. Download this amazing app on Google and Apple Apps Store. Can we get in more about the reason why you came up with the lyrics for Solution?
Sure. Yeah. I'm sorry. Let me.
No, you're good, man.
All right. So, I've always sort of had this probably overly optimistic ideal that things could change, especially here in America, that we could actually keep following, the steps we were taking in terms of, human rights and race relations and what we do with our daily lives. I always thought that America could kind of lead the way, and it's the only culture I've ever known. So the Solution is just about sort of like an ideal of like, I don't know what to do, but I feel like we need a revolution here. There was one in the 60s, and a lot of good stuff happened in that time. But a lot of it got forgotten and swept under the rug. There was a lot of peace and love, and there was women's rights, and civil rights took a big leap during that time. And we've never been a political band, so I'm more like poetically alluded to things as opposed to making them very, specifically political. But at the same time, I felt like it was time for another revolution. Right. I hate to be pessimistic, but I feel like we've taken a couple steps backwards in recent years. But that's a whole thing. But I still kind of hold on to the ideal that we could hit another paradigm shift in our culture where we finally get our shit together. And I'll probably hold on to that until I die. And it may never come true, but
hey,
it's worth dreaming about anyway.
Right. Let me ask you this. Do you remember us going to 98 Rock, our local radio rock station there in Baltimore? Do you remember us for talking about which song is going to be, which song we're going to actually promote on the radio? Do you remember that that day?
I do, and you can correct me if I'm wrong or fill in a blank or something like that, but I believe Russ Motla, the program director at 98 Rock at the time, was the one who heard Solution and said that's the song.
Right.
And it's funny because when you're in the band, you don't really know, like you think but you kind of are too close to it. And you're like, that's our song, and sometimes sometimes you don't. But I could have gone back and forth, but it really fit like what the station was doing at the time as well too. You know what I mean? The heavy rock, the groove, and that was that was, I don't feel like we really sounded exactly like anybody or any genre. We weren't grunge.
Nope.
You know, we weren't funk like the Red Hot Chili Peppers. We weren't, you know, acoustic like Oasis or you know, the Gin Blossoms or anything like that.
Yeah. Yeah.
So we were just kind of like our own little thing. But he nailed it. I'm glad he picked that song.
Honestly, sorry to interrupt you. I honestly thought that you picked it out because we were all four talking about it, and I know I said Brother's Hand,
Okay.
and I was thinking about it. It's like, nah, that's not a good radio song, like
Yeah.
it was funny to me, but you specifically said, it's like, no, man, I think it needs to be Solution. And then I think somebody else said like Clear Blue, or that's a good song too, but you picked the I thought you picked that song.
I may have. I do remember, and I don't remember. I do remember that Russ Motla did like the, and maybe we decided to play. Do we decide to play that song in studio or something? Is that what it was? And then he was like, "That's a good song." Yeah,
yeah.
And then people are calling in and requesting it and stuff like that. And it's kind of funny, man, because I'd seen stuff like that in movies, like, this band, they get their tape to the radio station and the DJ, they finally convinced the DJ to start playing it. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah. Yeah.
Hey, the phone lines are lighting up. We'd like to hear, you know what I mean? And that's kind of what happened, right?
Oh man.
It didn't have a record deal. We didn't have anybody promoting us. We didn't. Nope. We're just a local band, and the program director just said, "Do it, man. Let's back this band." And that's awesome. That's a break that not many bands get, you know what I mean? And it definitely changed things for us right afterwards, because people started showing up to our shows that they didn't know we were local. They didn't know, like, you know what I mean? They were like, I go on the radio. I don't, like Mitch Allen said, Mitch Allen, our producer and friend who the SR-71, he was like, dude, my sister doesn't know the difference. You remember him saying that?
I can hear him saying that, though, man.
Hears you on the radio. She doesn't know. She doesn't know if you're from around. She hears you on the radio. She doesn't know.
Wow. Moving forward, out of all the LC songs that we have done, can you, if you could only pick two songs, what would you pick?
Sam House would be one of them. And the reason Sam House would be one of them is because it's always been my favorite to play live.
Yeah.
I feel like it just reaches that crescendo where, I mean, we are a live band. We are so much more a live band than we are a studio band, I feel. I can't tell you how many people have come up to me and went, "Oh, I heard your CD and I liked it, but man, when I saw the show, like that's who we are. Like that was who we are. Like you had to come see the show to fully get, and not just us, but the crowd. The energy, the singing, the little accents that they know how to do and yell back at us and all that kind of stuff, and the camaraderie that's still at our shows.
Yeah.
That's something to me is just, it's always been, I mean, there's a reason why I put it on the song list last so many times, because I'm like, what's gonna top that? You know what I mean? And it's just like, I love playing. As far as another song, either it's hard to pick just one more, maybe Big One, Small One. Maybe Roll Into the Light. I don't know. I'd have to just go. Go ahead. What do you tell me?
I was about to say about Big One, Small One. Okay. Why did you write that song? Because I think I know the answer, because I was there, you know, and have we ever explained that song? Have we ever told people about what that song really meant? And
in fact, like, I think I remember the first time I believe it's the first time we played. It had to either be like this first or second time we ever played it, and it was at the Record Theater.
Mm-hmm.
And the song itself is about big one, small one. It's like being in the shadow of an authority figure, and having to figure out your way out of that. And of course, it was inspired by our drive home from Virginia when it was
Yeah.
me. You were driving, right?
Yes, I was driving.
Okay, so my memory serves me correctly. You were driving my car.
Yep.
Okay, and for the listeners out there, so you have at the time you have a black guy with dreads driving. You
Mm-hmm.
got long-haired guitarist in the passenger seat, I believe.
Yep,
and
he was.
And you have a bald dude with earrings in the back seat, and
Yeah.
we're driving home at 3:30 in the morning. So
Yep.
we are top magnet, right? You know what I mean?
Yes.
Let's just be honest. So we get pulled over, and the cop didn't want to hear anything and said, like, I guess got your license,
Yep.
went back to the car, started going back towards his car and said, "Hey, what are you doing? What are you hiding?" And no one had even moved a muscle. And I, to this day, think he did that for the dash cam.
Yeah.
And then he goes back and he gets all of us out of the car, searches the car up and down. We're all sober. There's no drugs. There's no booze. There's no nothing in the car. There was no reason to pull us over. Another thing is, and I'm going to be brutally honest, is when you first joined the band, I remember when we all drove separately from each other. And 2 nights in a row, when you first joined the band, we had a caravan of cars.
Yep.
And 2 nights in a row, the cops, not knowing we were a caravan, the cops singled you out and pulled you over. And if there was ever a shred of me that thought that maybe the media hypes up African Americans getting pulled over too much, if there was even a tiny bit that thought maybe that in the back dark recesses of my mind, blown out of the water. I was like, I couldn't, because I'm white and I don't know what that's like, but I saw it. And I know you're like the nicest guy I've ever met in my life. And I saw, especially the second night, how like pissed off but kind of hurt you were.
Yeah.
And I'll never forget that, man. And I if anybody ever says, oh well, it's hype, or it's just it's people saying stuff to pin us against each other or whatever, I'm like, man, I'm sorry, that was not a coincidence.
Nope.
I didn't think it was a coincidence the first night, but when it happened, like the next night or like 2 nights later or something.
Yeah, it was about 2 nights later.
Yeah, it was right
crazy.
back. It was right back to back, and I mean, and it broke my heart, and I'm just like, man, like, I'm like, you cops have no idea. Like, Will hasn't even smoked a joint before. I'm like, you're pulling the wrong person. I drugs to kill a rhinoceros, and, and I'm like, you should be pulling. There's my pulling over the wrong cat. Doesn't do anything. And yeah, man, I mean, that was a huge, again, as a 23, 24-year-old, however old I was, you were, it was a big wake up call that I've never forgotten since then.
To be honest with you, I couldn't believe it was happening, and it didn't hit me not until later. To be honest with you, when I was with my girlfriend or whatever, and told her about it or whatever, and it didn't, like I said, it didn't hit me until later. I'm like, wow, they actually singled me out. Like, really? This is really happening? Like, okay, this is weird.
It was obvious you were in the middle of the caravan.
Yeah.
So you couldn't have been speeding more than the people in front of us or behind us, or like I was behind you, I remember.
Yeah.
And Bob probably in front. The cop got in the middle of us and got right behind you and pulled you over twice.
You know what he said? He said that I swerved.
Right. And you did not swerve.
That was the reason.
Yeah, I guess that's the go-to. How do you prove that you didn't swerve or what? I mean, but listen, man, I try to support law enforcement and stuff like that, but I've seen it firsthand. You know what I mean? And I wish I hadn't, but it made a big impression on me. You know what I mean? And it always has. And I learned a lot, honestly, by osmosis. Just you being in the band, you may not know that. You know, I don't think I've ever met anybody more any nicer, harder working person in my entire life. And so like it really got me that like it's like he doesn't even smoke weed or anything, and you're gonna pull him over. And so it's just the course of us being, and again, I was probably 10 years later, or not 10, but maybe 5 or 6 years later. Okay, if we just came out Big One, Small One, that might have been like 97 or 98. So 3 or 4 years, get it mixed up. But anyway, you driving again and driving my car. And I would have no fear of getting pulled over at 3:30 in the morning if I was by myself. It wouldn't even, as long as I'm sober and I'm staying in between lines, doesn't even dawn on me. But like as soon as we pass by, the black dude with the bald dude and the long-haired white guy, they're getting pulled over. We're searching the car because those cats are up to no good, right? And it's like, man, we're the band. We're trying to get home. Leave us. We didn't do anything wrong. So yes, that is a very long way of saying that's kind of where Big One, Small One. Yeah,
I remember like you were telling Corey to be quiet because Corey was not having it.
He was mouthing off. Yeah.
You're like, shut up, Corey.
Yeah. I've been arrested a lot more than so. I was like, dude, you're gonna learn the hard way. I'm like, I'm the one with the record in this car. So
Oh man. All right. So moving forward, like, going through everything, do you remember going with our good management of Joan Jett?
Yes, I did.
I don't think people know this. I don't think people know this at all.
Yeah, that was brief. And man, what was his name? It's escaping me.
Laguna. Kenny
Laguna. That's it.
Yep.
That's the long time, and I still think is managing Joan Jett.
Yep.
I would imagine. Heard us. I think Russ Motla sent him, or he got wind of us being on 98 Rock, but he was in New York City.
Yeah.
So he managed us briefly, and we did a stint of shows with Joan Jett that were fun. You know what I mean? That did Bottle and Cork and that Frederick, and she was cool as shit. She's a big she's a local girl and a big Orioles fan. Oh, and I remember when we were doing those shows, the Orioles were in the playoffs. It was like the late 90s, and they were real competitive. So we were talking baseball with her. But yeah, super cool. That was brief, but that was fun. You know, Kenny, we weren't a priority to Kenny, but that's okay. His bread and butter was Joan Jett, and that's fine. I think he was like, I'll grab onto these guys in case something good happens.
Right.
He wasn't exactly pounding the pavement. But anyway, it's one of those fun life experiences. You said, for a second we were managed by the same manager as Joan Jett. We got to do a bunch of shows with her, so that's pretty cool.
All right. Do you mind talking about us about to make another trip to, and I don't know if people know this either, and I want you to explain it, with 9/11.
Oh Lord. Man. So yeah, like we had back in the day, I don't know if they even still do this, Will, but I know back in the day when you got a band and you were hot, you would get a showcase together at one of the smaller rooms in New York City, and your manager, and we did this multiple times, your manager get, invite A&R people out from all the record labels that were right in New York City, because all the record labels are in New York City. RCA, Runner, and blah blah blah, and this and that. They're all of them, and we had a lot of buzz, and we had gotten about 30 A&R reps that confirmed to come out. And even if not all of them came out, if you had 20, that's a lot.
Yeah.
I mean, you'd go up there if one or two said they will come out, but we like 30, and that's what you want, is you want all those A&R reps in a room looking at each other and seeing how big that is. So yeah, we had a bus trip planned, and I'll never forget it, man. The showcase was September 12th, 2001, and I woke up in the morning, and I was going, because we rented a bus, we were going to take our fans up, and I had a list out, and I was going over the names of the people who had paid. We had like 100 people coming up there, import our fans up to the city and just blow the doors off of this. And then Dan called and was like, man, are you watching TV? And I was like, no. And now I hadn't seen, he watched as the second plane hit the tower. I didn't turn on the TV until both planes had hit. But I was like, wow. And then, the whole day just unfolded. And of course, the next day was canceled, and it was months before we would even go back to there. The thing is, I never want to make it about us. And I don't even think at the time I was like, oh my God, there's our big shot or something like that. Because first of all, you're so focused on just the horror of the day that it was just, I don't think anybody was even that concerned. It was just like, we'll just, whatever. The whole world is different now.
Oh yeah. Way different.
And I gotta be honest with you, like, to me, that was sort of the beginning of the end of what we were doing all the time. Like playing 5 nights a week, getting home at 4 a.m. I'm in we're all in our early 30s ish. And it's just like, I was just like, okay, what do I want out of life here? And I don't think the live music scene was ever the same after that.
Nope. It sure wasn't.
I think it literally changed like overnight. It just wasn't. A lot of clubs that had live bands closed down. People weren't coming out nearly as much for like the year or two after that. And I don't think it really fully recovered from that,
Still, I think it still hasn't.
It hasn't.
No.
It's amazing how an event like that can have such a ripple effect on so many different areas of society. And again, I don't want to ever make that about like 9/11 killed the live band.
Right.
But if you're just talking factually, it impacted it greatly. And people more wanted to stay at home with their families and hunker down a little bit. And it never really was the same after. And a lot of clubs closed right after that.
Yeah, I think after that, we started going down to Ocean City at this other club, not the main club that we were playing at, not Hurricanes, but it was another one that had this huge video screen behind us. Yes. And then we had to have a sound control. Oh, you remember that?
Oh, just brutal. Oh. God.
Yeah. That was I think that for me, that was just like, what is going on here? And that was not good at all.
The management like aiming at us to turn it down, and it's like, you hired a hard rock band, and huge room, and you want us to turn it down? Like, are you insane? Like, what's the point?
It is. And I thought the DJ was even louder than us.
Of course he was. Absolutely. Yes. Bass and whatever. But No, turn your instrument. Can you turn your instruments down more? And another thing like that is it's just like, dude, we got Will Dorsey on drums. He part of what he does is knock the shit out of his fucking drums, and he plays loud. We like loud. Corey turns up loud. Dan turns up louder.
Yep.
Corey turns up loud again. We're a
Yeah.
fucking rock band. That's what we are. Like, if you don't want a loud rock band, don't hire us. That's what we do.
Exactly.
Ugh.
Exactly. Oh man, that's I just wanted to put that information out there.
Yeah.
That some of the struggles that we have gone through as a band. Um, but let me ask you this. From the beginning, and I should have asked this earlier, what made you change the name to Laughing Colors?
So now this is kind of lame, I think, because we had a song called Laughing Colors, and I think it's lame to name your band after a song, but we sort of dropped the song and
Yeah.
just kept the name Laughing Colors.
Mhm.
And it just made sense. Like, we were a fun party band, and I mean, I'll be honest with you. I'll be the first one to say I was taking a lot of acid, and mushrooms, and ecstasy back then. A lot of like drugs, and so Laughing Colors seemed to make perfect sense to me.
Right. That's cool, man. A couple more things. In our recording experience, was there any particular songs that, man, this is a hard song? I don't know, like to play. I mean, like to even present in the studio. Like, we're gonna try to put this song in the studio. Was there any tough songs for you? Because there was definitely a couple of hard songs for me. Like,
Yeah,
we're actually gonna try to make this work. Was there any for you?
none jump out at me. I know that like, especially like on the Pattern Seed, which I think is our best album, and most people do. It's probably, the best production, the most cohesive, the best songs, and that's
Yeah.
that's great. That's great. In fact, I'm glad to have been in a band where people are like, "That's your best album." You know what I mean? Like,
Mm, mm, yeah.
cool enough, you know what I mean? I'm like, okay, cool. We have a best album.
Right.
Um, so even that in and of itself is pretty cool. I know that I just like wanted to capture. I always wanted, and the reason we put out, what did we put out? 4 live albums or something like that.
Something like that. Yeah.
Something like that,
Yeah.
and it's because you couldn't really capture what we were doing or what we were about unless you saw us live. So I was always worried about capturing that, but I felt like, again, with Sam House, I'm like, somehow we have to capture the live feel of that in the studio, and I think it's a pretty good recording.
Yeah.
And captures the energy and the crescendo of the song, and yeah. But you got to tell me what songs in particular, because something's in there, something combined.
Do you remember us working on Why I Feel Nothing?
I do, yeah. And are you I if you were struggling with that, I don't think I had a clue.
Yeah. I didn't I didn't know where the song was going.
Huh.
That's for me. That's it didn't start to coming together. We had all these rehearsals. I forgot which house we were trying to rehearse at.
I'll tell you what, and not to interrupt, but I'll tell you where we rehearsed. That was when Corey lived with Doug Segree,
Oh,
and we were
oh,
in.
that's right.
Yep,
Yeah,
yep,
that's
yep.
right. That's right. Yeah,
Basement. Typically remember working on Why I Feel Nothing in that basement.
right. And I couldn't. I was like, man, I cannot figure out this song. And like it was bugging me. It was
Ah,
really, really bugging me. I was just like, okay, Dave sees something in this song.
yeah,
It's like I don't see it yet.
ah.
Not until we got with, was it with Steve or was that with Mitch?
That would have been with Steve.
Okay,
Steve Wright. Yep.
okay. So it didn't start clicking to me, and I hate to say this, but I'm gonna blow up Dan right quick. Dan was the one person that made me feel that song
Gotcha.
for me,
Yeah.
because I couldn't figure out, like, I hear the song, and it's like, no, because you were like, no, we need to keep on working on the song. Let's keep on working on it. But I was struggling, dude, struggling. I'm like, I don't know what to do for the song, man. It's like, but not until I finally heard Dan's rhythm on there,
Right.
I finally got it. I was like, oh, okay,
Yeah.
and it clicked.
That makes sense, because if you think about the guitar riff, it's kind of like floaty out there. It's kind of, it's kind of like it doesn't lock into anything, but then the
Yeah,
that makes total.
I didn't hear any of that, and I don't I don't know why I didn't hear any of that. I don't know if for me it came together when we were in the studio doing that song. I finally got to hear everybody else's parts, like just to try to make sense of that song. There was one more.
But hold on, let me get.
Okay.
Was it Turned?
Yes.
Okay. And I'm not saying that because I remember you not hearing it or struggling with it at all. The only reason why is because it's kind of like what's going on here. You know what I mean? It's
right.
not like three chords and a cloud of dust and a rock and roll song. It's kind of like, hey, we got to figure out what to do with the bass line here and to bring it all together. And that's where I just like, these cats will figure this out. And I'm just back out. I was like, they'll get it.
Right. What made you write that song for Turn, man? I mean, because that is, to me, that's a different song. Compared to a lot of it. And I remember people saying it's like, it's different from your last two albums, and it was a different song compared to the other two. I mean, the other two albums. But would you think about that song, you bringing that in like that?
Again, and for me, a lot of it starts on acoustic guitar. You know what I mean? So these are songs that like an idea starts on an acoustic guitar, and then somehow it turns into like this rock, this big rock song that doesn't sound like it should even be played on acoustic guitar. And so, okay. Subconsciously, especially like when we were kind of clicking on all cylinders, I would write to you guys, meaning like I could write a little song by myself, like The War on Drugs is just about lyrics and funny and whatever, and that's just a little fun little ditty I write. But it's like, as a band evolves, I think, and in fact, I think 4 people do that. You start to write to each other, like you write strengths. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like you're probably thinking, I'm gonna do this because this is what Laughing Color sounds like, and I'm gonna sing this because this is what Laughing Color sounds like. And it might be different than if you separated the 4 of us. But when you put us together, it's like I could write a song on an acoustic guitar knowing that the final product is going to sound like this, because Corey's going to have some big sweeping guitar thing. Will's going to have some kick-ass thumping drum thing, and Dan's going to be locked in there with him and stuff like that. So it's like, even just writing songs on acoustic guitar, I know that eventually they're going to sound like this, just because that's what the players make them sound like,
Right. Yeah. I feel like things were starting to change when we did Strange, the song Strange, and I noticed our progression from Strange even to the next album that had Turn on it, going into was it Blank? So even
Nothing But actually Strange is on and Nothing But Sky.
You're right. Sorry. Man, I don't even know our own albums, man. That's crazy.
I have trouble piecing it all together.
Oh. No. But that's how I seen it. But do we get more influences coming in? Because I know Corey was heavily into Tool.
Yeah.
And, and do you feel like that coming in, like together, the four of us, like the influences that our albums ended up the way it's been?
I think you anybody who says they're not influenced, if you're really putting yourself out there and you're really striving to make better songs and stuff that would be on the radio, stuff that would be, that record companies might like, to say that you're completely oblivious of the music that's going on around you, Tool, Incubus, Rage Against the Machine, even like no one would ever say we sounded like Rage Against the Machine, but
Yeah.
I always borrow a little bit of that angst and that thump and that energy. You know what I mean? Like that was there. You know what I mean? And it didn't sound like Tool either. But I
All right.
think when you take a pinch of all of these different bands, Alice in Chains, and maybe a little piece of Metallica, Pearl Jam, Pantera, just a little pinch, you know what I mean? And throw it in there. That's what makes the whole sauce, you know what I mean? And I don't think there's anything wrong with that. I mean, you're going to be influenced by what's going on around you, the bands you play with, even the bands you play with night after night, like more local or regional bands,
Yeah.
might have a subconscious influence on you. So I think absolutely, you know what I mean? There's some of that going on.
One more last question.
Yeah, man.
How can you didn't become a comedian?
I'll tell you why.
Why?
I tried it one time.
Did you really?
I did. I actually tried it one time, and Mickey Coachella was having, he was a DJ at 98 Rock as well, and he is a comedian who's done pretty well. He was like, dude, you're great at talking to the mic and blah, 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 and all that kind of stuff. Why don't you come up and just do a set of stand-up comedy? And I was like, all right, I guess I will. So completely unprepared, thought of some funny things to say. I went, it was like this restaurant on a Saturday night that had comedy, and there was probably like 50 or 100 people up there.
Right.
And I got up there and I told my first joke. And this is when the band had already started. So I'm probably in fact, I was living with Bob at the time. So I'm probably like 24.
Okay.
Yeah. Or there's a reason you haven't heard about this yet. I said I had like my first joke, right?
Right.
And you could have heard a fucking pin drop. And
Oh.
I was like, and everything like my ears got hot and I got tunnel vision. And I was this close to being like, I'm sorry, I got up here. I didn't mean to waste anybody's time. I don't know what I'm doing up here. Like I was that close to doing that. Some lady at the bar like started heckling me.
Oh.
And it was the best thing that ever could have happened because I started insulting her and going back and forth and actually got some laughs.
Right.
Get me the fuck out of here. Because the thing is, I know at the end of the day, when I go on stage with Laughing Colors, worst case scenario, we just start the next song.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I gotta do shit. But when you're up there, ass in the wind, naked, and you have to make people laugh for 10 or 15 minutes, and they're not laughing, it was so uncomfortable that I was just like, I'm done. I was like, that's my little experiment with that, man. I'm gonna stick to being the lead singer of a rock band.
Wow, man. That's crazy, dude. Man, I'm gonna tell you this, man. It's been a joy talking to you right now. We need to have a part 2, because I have a ton more questions, but I'm gonna let you be, and cut this interview. But I'd like to have you back on my show, if that's cool with you.
Dude, it's been a joy, man. Just like I knew this was going to be fun, but this is 10 times more fun. That just catching up with you is awesome.
Yeah.
It's fantastic, man, for sure.
I always wanted to do this because I had a vision, like one of our shows we would go do this, have a small place and have like a questionnaire type thing, like during our set or whatever. But I always wanted to do that. I don't know why, I wanted to do it, but I thought it was cool because you're a very interesting person. And I wanted people to get your side of things, especially with Laughing Colors and stuff like that. You know what I mean?
My pleasure, man. We're brothers for life, man. You got
Yes, we
me.
are.
You just say the word, dude. I'm all over it.
Awesome. Thank you, Dave. I appreciate this, man.
Thank you, Will.
All right, man. Today's episode is brought to you by our sponsor, eRecord Studio, the new way musicians rehearse, record, and share their e-record sessions on social media. Visit ERS on erecordstudio.com. Download this amazing app on Google and Apple Apps stores.
Visit us on www.TalkMusicPodcast.com. Subscribe to our YouTube channel. Download our podcast on Apple, Google, Amazon, and Spotify.